Hey folks, this is Coloring Chemist. My name is Connie and welcome back to my channel. So, I previously had done a video where I compared 5 different copies of R.J. Hampson's Lost and Found from 5 different countries. These are Amazon print books, these are all the softcover books, and I wanted to see what the paper quality and the print quality was like with books from Canada, specifically Bolton, Ontario, which is, I don't have any choice. And everybody's, I think, is like that, ordering within your country, you don't really get a choice where you get the books from if there's more than one print facility in your country. So the Canadian one was from Bolton, Ontario. The US one that I ordered came from North Haven, Connecticut. Then I got one from Japan, one from the UK, and it just says Great Britain. And then I ordered one from Amazon Germany that came, but it said it was printed in Poland. And one of the viewers had asked in a comment if I would consider expanding or sort of doing a follow-up video where I actually do some coloring in the books. Because in that video, all I did was I compared sort of paper quality and print quality. And it was funny. And thank you to that viewer, because they're absolutely right. I should do that. And even as I was recording that video, I was thinking to myself, I really should be coloring these books. But that video was kind of long as it was. So this is part 2 or the sequel. And I'm going to be doing some coloring in each of these books. And I picked out a fairly large variety of different supplies to use in these books. Now, I mean, ideally, I would color a page with each different supply and, really use it. But A, I'm kind of lazy. And B, I just don't have the time. So it's going to be a small coloring sample, but I think hopefully it'll be enough to give, me and hopefully you an idea of how all of these different supplies work on these different papers from different countries. I purposefully sort of shuffled the books, so I'm not sure which book I'm looking at, although I am kind of familiar with the paper and the print quality now, so I can probably guess at least some of them. But I'll try not to. I'll try and stay as impartial as I can. And I also chose a page that didn't have a lot of black ink work because, again, I didn't want to open up to a page that had a lot of black ink and then automatically think, oh, I know this is, from whatever country. I've chosen some alcohol markers. So I've got the Spectrum Noir. This happens to be one of their new ones. It's called a tricolor brush. And what they've done is they've put 3 different colors that are not necessarily from the same color family, because they do have these markers as well that look like this. They're black. They have a black barrel. And the one I grabbed is called Citrus Blend. And you've got a light, medium, and dark, but they're all in the same color family. These new ones they have a burgundy barrel. And this one is light green 5, alpine green 2, and citrus green 2. So it's not the same color family, but I just thought it would give... I mean, really what I'm looking for is how does alcohol ink act on these different papers? I've also got some Winsor & Newton alcohol markers, some Copic alcohol markers. I've got a variety of water-based markers, some fine liners, some gel pens, some acrylic markers. And then I've got some pencils, different kinds. I've got Artex, Prismacolor, Lightfast. I have Black Widow, Holbein, Polychromos. And then I've got some watercolor. I've got Albrecht Dürer. I've got Inktense, which I know aren't watercolor, but I mean, it's still, we're going to see if these papers will take some water. And I will probably try activating those with a water brush, but also with maybe a water soluble blender, like a Tombow. And then I thought maybe off to the side I could do just a little bit of or maybe it's a different element. I can then test out some blender pens just to see how much... These are all one-sided, so if it bleeds through, that's okay, but just to see. So I may or may not speed up some of this coloring. I don't know, because otherwise it's going to take a fairly long time. So I'm just going to color. I might chat a little bit, just, give my opinions on how things are working. I apologize if you can hear some sort of pump noises in the background. I live out in the country, and my water system chose now to sort of do a self-clean, so I hope it's not too loud. All right. Oh, and I will say, first disclaimer, I'm not a professional. You may watch me color with these various kinds of supplies and think, that's not how, Connie, that's not how you're supposed to use that supply. You're probably right. I just sort of do it the way I've done it. I probably should take some classes and just get, learn how to do it the right way. But for now, I'm just sort of looking, how does it feel on the paper? Second thing, and I always tend to forget to say this, if you like what you're seeing, please consider liking the video, subscribing to my channel, hitting that notification bell so you get notified when I put new videos up, leaving a comment, so putting the word out on social media about my channel. I'm just over a month old, and I'm so grateful and so happy that people are watching the videos and they seem to be liking the content, the sort of logical, sciencey content. I know I mention it a lot. I am a chemistry teacher who is, getting into coloring and hopefully a little bit of maybe art journaling in the future as a way to use my brain in a different way. So what I've done is, I don't really want to zoom in because I'm going to be sort of working, around the edge of the page, and knowing me, I will forget to move the page and I'll be doing stuff off camera. So hopefully, you can, if you're watching on your phone, you can zoom in on the video. If you're watching on your computer, you can hit full screen and then you can see, but I'll sort of, like I say, talk a little bit as I go. And I've labeled different leaves here. I've got a bunch of greens. Label different leaves with the different kinds of media that I'm going to be using so that I do the same, on each page. And then we can compare apples to apples, or greens to greens, as it were. All right, so let's go. We'll start with some Spectrum Noir alcohol marker and see how it goes. So I'm going to go with a bit of, actually, because this is an alcohol marker, anytime I work with alcohol markers, I like to have them all uncapped so I can work fast. And so with these ones, that's how they get these little stubby bits. So you just have to be careful to not drop them as you're working. So far, this is actually pretty good. Considering it's Amazon paper, I'm not seeing, how sometimes with some of that rougher Amazon paper, you sometimes get a little bit of bleed outside the lines, but I'm actually not seeing a lot of that. And I do apologize if my hand is in the way sometimes. Just kind of an angle thing. And I'm sort of putting 2 layers down, just because that's what I would normally do doing alcohol markers. That's not bad. Not bad at all. So what I have is the other books kind of stacked off to the side. So you'll see me bring them in one at a time like this. And then I'll just do the same thing. So I'm doing a little bit of dark up the center of the leaf, and I'll sort of do each leaf kind of the same. The darkest up the center of the leaf. So I have three colors for each supply here. Sort of bring that out with a little bit of mid-tone color, and then around the edge of the leaf, a lighter color. And then, depending on the supply, I might go back over, do more than one layer. If it's a pencil that is a layering, ooh, that was my fault, I went outside the line there. If it's a layering pencil, I probably will do layers. If it's a smooshing pencil, I will do, well, smooshing. And for these markers, yeah, I'm just kind of, I know for alcohol markers, I think you're supposed to put a layer down of the light first. I think that's how it's supposed to go. But I don't tend to do that. to hold the page here too. Otherwise the page kind of bounces a bit, and then I go outside the lines, and then it looks like I did a worse job than I did. I know these aren't going to be the most attractive leaves in the world, but we're just trying to... So far, this one is feeling the best. So that's the third one. That's for alcohol markers anyway. I don't like this one. This one feels... I don't know. It feels like it's really sucking up the ink. And it almost feels like it wants to... I don't know if you can see. Probably not. It's very small. But the ink is really bleeding on this one. Like I feel like I have less control over... Yeah, see, it's bleeding outside the lines there. And I didn't go outside the line. Not that much. So far... 3, and you know what I'll do is I'll put smiley faces on the best and frowny faces on the worst as I go. And then that way we'll remember at the end. Yeah, this one feels kind of bleedy too. Not as bad as the one that I just finished though. These are tricky to use because you're kind of flipping. All right, let's put some caps back on here before I drop this. There we go. All right, so this one, oh my goodness, look at the bleed on that. Okay, frown. Oh, that was a bad frown. And the one underneath it was the one that felt the best in terms of... I got some bleed there too. But I don't know, it felt like I had more control. Yeah, some bleed there. See, and that's the thing with alcohol markers. They will... Actually, that one bled the least. Maybe I was being careful. Maybe I didn't put down as many layers there. So we'll give a smiley face there. Fair amount of bleed there. And I want to do this as I go because otherwise I'll forget. I mean, I can see the, you know, I can see the bleed and what have you afterwards, but I'll forget how they felt. Alright, so I talked through that one. I might not talk through the next one. And I might just... These are going to end up in all kinds of weird order off to the side, but that's okay. It sort of shuffles them more, doesn't it? I might not talk through the rest of the markers just because, you know, you don't need to. And then I can speed this up and then this video won't be 8 million years long. All right. that was a marathon. Now, I don't know. I'm still recording. I haven't edited yet. So I don't know if you're going to see all the footage of me doing all this coloring or if I'm just going to cut it out because it took a long, long time. But we are at the end. And I will say, if I do leave in the footage, I know my coloring technique was just kind of wild. I was probably smushing pencils that should have been layered and maybe layering pencils that should have been smushed. And I also, there was supposed to be a watercolor leaf down here, and I watercolored 2 leaves and then realized I don't know how to watercolor. So I figured, well, the point to watercoloring the leaf was to see how water was going to work on these pages. So then I just did some Neocolor scribbles just to check water that way. So that's a lot of things happened while I was doing this. I still haven't looked at the backs of the books. I don't know which book is which. I have my suspicions for a few, others I don't know. So in looking through, this just happens to be the one that's on the top of the pile. I tried to put little smiley faces if I thought, this particular paper took that particular supply well. So we've got some Stabilo pens, Pitt pens I thought, some fine liners I thought it took fairly well. I didn't like the feel of Prisma on here, but I did like Black Widows. I did not like Holbeins. If there's no smiley faces or frowny faces, it was just kind of like, yeah, I think it did okay with the alcohol markers. Water, not great, but then it's Amazon paper, right? I was going to check. I did some Derwent blender pen and Holbein melts here, and I actually used the Holbein melts to activate the Inktense on each page as well. And then straight water to activate Albrecht Dürer up here, and a Tombow blender to activate Albrecht Dürer there. We had some watercolor markers. You can see, obviously, alcohol markers went through. A fair number of the watercolor markers went through as well, right down here. We've got bleed through with the water, a little bit of ghosting from the blender pens, but I mean, all of that's expected, right? It's Amazon paper. So I don't see too many frowny faces on here. I did a little bit of gel pen or gel crayon with a blending brush in the corner just to see if it would go down smoothly or not. It seemed to. I put a little bit of chalk. They were Jane Davenport pastels on my finger and just rubbed it there just to see again, would it go down smoothly? Yeah, you can see with the chalk pastels, because this paper has texture, it's kind of speckly. If I had used a brush instead of my finger, maybe I could have gotten rid of some of that. So overall, this one's okay. This one has a lot of frowny faces on it. The alcohol markers really bled. Prismacolors felt okay. The fine liners and pens, and over here I wrote paper pilling. So whatever book this is, whatever paper this is, I didn't like Black Widows. I didn't like Artex. Polychromos, it's funny. They sort of felt good on every page. Now, maybe that's because I'm just really used to using polychromos, so I know how to use them. Well, I probably didn't use them great here. I was getting kind of tired by then, honestly. But, yeah, Copics I didn't like. I even struggled to get sort of an even laydown of the pastel on my finger. It's really crinkled. You can see I couldn't even really get, sorry if I was a frame in the bottom there. I couldn't even really get, not that I really got it to dissolve here either, but this just seems worse. So this has a lot of frowny faces on it. I'm going to put this one kind of to the front here. I think that might be the worst. I'm not sure. This one, I have my sneaking suspicions which this one is based on this, right? Those other ones with water, you could see that didn't even really dissolve the Neocolor 2s. Look at that. Now, again, I've seen paper better, but that's Amazon print paper. makes me think this is probably the Japanese book. I like the alcohol markers on here. I didn't like the water based pens, Pitt pens, the Tombos. Although now that it's dried, it looks better. But they were doing something weird. Like, yeah, they went all weird and kind of speckly. So that was odd. I liked Artex, pencils, Prisma. I didn't like the Light Fast. Black Widow were good. Polys felt really good. Again, if this is the Japanese, it's smooth paper, right? Polys are going to feel better, to me anyway, on smooth paper. This went down evenly on my finger. This was the best in terms of, I just put a bit of polychromos down here and then blended it out with the Derwent Blender pen, and then on the bottom with the Holbein Melts pen, and I did that on each page. I know it's hard to see, it's yellow. That was the pen the pencil I happened to grab. But this one was the best for that. So there was a few issues here. The water-based markers were probably the biggest. The gel pens worked really well here, just a scribble blend. The gel crayon went down, I think, almost the smoothest. Although the one I put off to the left here was pretty smooth as well. But in terms of background work, this is going to be your #1 book. And other than that weird issue with water-based markers, there's a lot of smiley faces. This might be my #1. I'm going to put this off to the right-hand side. So 2 more to look at here. This one doesn't have a lot of frowny faces. It's got a couple smiley. In fact, I don't see any frowny faces. Oh, no. For Copic, I put one. Yeah, there's a little bleeding with the alcohol markers. Not bad. I put a smiley face next to the Holbein. I think I like the Holbein quite a bit on here. The Inktense felt weird going down, but maybe that's hard to say. Didn't dissolve too badly in terms of background down here. And not too badly with the blender pens for the polychromos down here. The Pitt pens I really liked on here, which for me, I like to use Pitt pens, right? So this was a good one. I did find when I went to do the gel crayon, it got a little blotchy. Is it more blotchy than? Yeah, it's more blotchy than the one I put off to the right. So this one was okay. I think this one had a better result here than the one I put off to this other one I wasn't sure of. That's definitely worse. This is better. So I would say right now, this one's probably #2. So I'm going to put that there. I'm still going to put this one off. So now I just need to decide about this one. Some smiley faces, in fact, this has quite a few smiley faces for the alcohol markers. Light Fast felt good. A couple of the water-based pens felt good. Fine liner, Stabilo water-based markers there. This struggled with the blender pens with the polychromos down here. That's fairly even. This is kind of blotchy. This is quite bad water. So backgrounds and that sort of thing. So, but this looks more even than, that's a tough one. That is tough. I'm going to put this as #3. And then I'm going to put this one as 4, and this one as 5. All right. Are we ready to do the reveal? Let's see. So this is so we're counting down. So, and again, remember all of this is just my opinion, how things felt. I did a lot of different materials quite quickly. Just overall, yeah, This one, there was a lot of things happening here. There was paper pilling for a lot of the water-based stuff, a lot of bleeding with the alcohol markers. Some of the pencils felt okay, but there was definitely some frowny faces with some pencils there. So this was number 5. And again, I know I said it, I'll say it again. Just my opinion. It doesn't, if this happens to be a book that you own, or maybe it's the only one you can get, and you like working in it, that's totally awesome. Totally fine, right? Everybody, you do you. That's the motto of most of my videos. Got some crinkling there too. So, oh, US. That's too bad. But I mean, I think you guys knew that, right? You knew that your paper just doesn't take water very well. It's really got that really toothy texture, which tends to make alcohol markers bleed. So I think you guys knew. So there's the number 5. Number 4. Again, struggled here. I don't see too many frowny faces. There's a couple up here with the pencils. Some smiley faces. So what's this one? That's the Canadian. So the Canadian is number 4. Interesting. All right then. I noticed the Canadian really struggled with the Neocolor too. In fact, I think it maybe, well, no, it was about even with the US book, but and it's quite crinkly. So that's, you don't want to use too much water on the Canadian book there. This is number 3. This struggled quite a bit here, but I do have quite a few smiley faces with the markers and things, which I do like using. I don't see any smiley faces. Oh yeah, with light fast, I like to light fast on here. The fine liners. Yeah, Stabilo pens. Didn't do so well here for backgrounds. That the pastel is fairly even though. All right, so let's see number 3. Great Britain. Nice. So we got the UK coming in number 3, which I think we know which are going to be the top 2. I'm pretty sure this is the Germany one. You know what? Not bad. Better than the others in terms of dissolving the Neocolor 2 and not having the paper sort of immediately suck up the pigment so you can't move it. You could move it a little bit here. And that's what was happening with these other books, right? It's not that the water couldn't dissolve the Neocolor 2 on the other books. It could, but because of the texture of the paper, the water sort of immediately got sucked into the paper along with the pigment that it had, sort of lifted or liberated. And then you couldn't move the pigment anymore. You could actually move it a little bit here. Not much, but a little. This is one where I said the ink tents felt weird going down. I don't know why. Pit pens were good. Holbeins were good here. The alcohol markers were pretty good. Fairly even with the pastel going down. This looks blotchy. Look blotchier than others. I think I was running out of the crayon when I did this one, and I was just too lazy to put more down. So that might be user error, not the book. But I'm pretty sure this is the Germany one, which means printed in Poland. Yep. Which means our number 1 in terms of just usage is the Japanese book. And for those folks that were saying, it takes water, you're absolutely right. There's still a bit of crinkling here, but not nearly as much as the other books. You don't get that streakiness, and I put Neocolor 2s right on the paper. And then you saw me afterwards pulling it off the crayon and putting it down. I could even still move that pigment around. Very even when I did the pastel here. Dissolving with blender pens here. This was some Neocolor 1. Sorry, I probably should have said that before. That I was doing on each page. Did okay there. This, with the gel crayon here, is pretty even. There was a few things. This was the one that had the weird trouble with the water-based markers. Now, for me, that's a big drawback because I really like to use Pitt pens when I color. But if you are an alcohol marker person, the Artex did really well, Prismas did well, Black Widows did well. I really like the polys on this paper. The only one I didn't like was the Light Fast. It just felt weird and sticky somehow. But I mean, there's Albrecht Dürer with water activated. There's Albrecht Dürer activated with the Tombow pen. Inktense activated with the Holbein Melts pen. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be looking. You know what? I kind of stopped looking at the back because it's going to look the same for most of them, right? Marker goes through. But I think overall, in terms of particularly water, yeah, you guys were absolutely right. It's the Japanese book for the win. The Germany book, which printed in Poland, though, close second. Struggles a bit more with water, but doesn't have that same trouble with the water-based markers, which for me is fantastic. So yeah, so there is our two winners. Sure, why not? For different reasons. There we go. Japanese book and the one printed in Amazon Germany. All right, like I say, I'm not sure how much of the actual coloring you guys will see. I might cut it out, I don't know. But I hope that this answered some questions maybe that you still had after I did that initial video. If there's still anything that I didn't answer or maybe I forgot to mention, just pop it in the comments below and I can get back to you and just let you know what I think. Again, all my opinion, right? I'm not an experienced artist. I'm not even an experienced colorist, really. And so if you have completely different thoughts on these books, you really enjoy working in one of the books that I didn't rank highly, you know what? That's totally okay. Everybody has to do, their own thing. That's the beauty of art, the beauty of coloring. You do you. Okay, I hope everyone is safe. I hope everyone is well. And I hope everyone is enjoying their coloring. Until next time, bye.